All right. My name is Ariel Sinelnikoff. I graduated San Rafael High School in 2010. I went on to San Francisco State. It was the year 2014 and studied cinema as my major. I'm currently going to the Fierstein Graduate School of Cinema as a film director, and I nominated Steve Temple for the 2016 Carlston Family Foundation Award. Mr. Temple was one of the biggest influences in terms of my career as a filmmaker. I took his Media Academy class in high school, which is a hybrid film meets history and English class, and I also took his broadcasting class in high school for 2 years, and that was entirely instrumental to my career as a filmmaker. It's really there that I decided I wanted to become a filmmaker and a film director. What made Mr. Temple different from other teachers was he not only trusted his students, he would give them actual adult responsibilities, and it didn't matter if you were a junior or a senior. If you were willing to put in the work, he was willing to give you a shot. So that was huge for myself and a lot of people. I know for me specifically, it really helped me understand what the filmmaking process is like in the real world, and it helped me just understand the responsibilities I would later have as an adult in going into college. But he also focused on groups working together. That was a huge focus. Every project we did was group-based, and that is so instrumental for specifically the film industry, but also a lot of things in life, I feel. Almost regardless of any sort of job you're going to get, at some point you're likely to work in a group. And you gotta understand the group dynamics, you gotta understand who you work well with, who you don't work well with, and that takes time. And I think learning that in high school before you go into the adult world, you have such a leg up on everyone else, and you understand not only the other types of people who might be in your group, but you understand yourself better, you understand how you work in groups better, and what you're good at in groups and what you're not good at in groups. So he really emphasized on that. He would really not only make sure, obviously, all the projects were group-based, but he would check in on the projects and make sure everyone was playing equal weight, everyone was doing their part, and no one was getting left behind. Yeah, I mean, there were other group projects in other classes, but I think that Mr. Temple went above and beyond in making sure that everyone was getting something out of these group projects, just by checking in, by treating us like adults, really. We were never babied in his classes, which was really huge, I feel, for all of us as high schoolers, because we were so used, we lived at home, we were treated as kids by our other teachers, but Mr. Temple was like, no, you're gonna be going into college soon, you need to learn how to be an adult. And he would make you aware of the mistakes, if you made any mistakes, not by berating you or by giving you detention or anything. He would talk it out with you. He would say, okay, you didn't return the equipment, for instance, when you're supposed to. Look how that affected broadcasting. Now they weren't able to shoot because you didn't return this equipment, and you would feel genuinely bad. You're like, wow, I did mess up, and it affected other people, which was great because you weren't yelled at, and you really felt a sense of responsibility. So specifically Media Academy, the whole academy is combining English and history and mostly filmmaking, other parts of tech, like graphic design a little bit, but mostly filmmaking. And for me, and I know for a lot of the students, we retain the information we learned in our history and our English classes so much better by making films about the subjects we were learning. I mean, we're so used to sitting in history and being taught over and over again, okay, this is when the Declaration of Independence was signed, or this is when D-Day was in World War II. But when you actually make a project about it, you're retaining the information so in depth, and it stays with you for most of your life in some ways. So I think that was what really differentiated it. And with broadcasting, I mean, we were learning how to be journalists. We were going and talking to our fellow students. Some of the broadcasts were silly, but we were learning how to interview people, and we were learning how to communicate with people through those interviews and what people liked in terms of media and what they didn't like. So that was on a social sort of level a really big help to us. Yeah, I definitely felt like I was so much more ahead of a lot of the film students going to SF State, both on a technical level because we were taught technical skills. We were taught how to edit. We were taught how to use a camera, whereas a lot of people, some people came in knowing that, but not a lot. But more so on the group working level. A lot of people, and to this day, even my grad school studies, I'm seeing people not understanding how to work in groups. I'm seeing these directors, these beginning directors, have a very singular vision and saying, you know what, yeah, I have to work in a group, but I'm going to kind of do this on my own because it's my vision, and not understanding film is a collaborative effort. And it's great when you have the idea, you know, when a director or a writer has the idea, but you have the idea in your head and then there's what comes out on the screen. And what comes out on the screen is a collaboration, and the group of people you make that film with is what makes it better, because it's not just one person's idea, it's a collective idea. And I felt like I really had that training in Mr. Temple's class, whereas not everyone did, unfortunately, going to SF State. They eventually learned it, but not everyone did going in. Definitely the trust. I would really hope that more teachers would trust their students. And I know how hard that can be because, you know, they're teenagers, you know, going through hormones and, you know, figuring out life. But I think teenagers are a lot smarter than a lot of people give them credit for, especially teenagers nowadays. I'm seeing a lot of them get very political and very active in real world issues, and which is amazing. They're doing a lot more than when I was a teenager, and they're having these intelligent conversations, and it kind of pains me when some teachers, obviously not all, treat them like kids still. And they are young adults, you know, they may be under 18, but they're young adults, and they're gonna become adults. And I think that trust really helps them evolve into full adults when they go into college, and it makes the transition so much easier. So I think that's something that, regardless, and it's more respectful. It's way more respectful. If you're going to trust the student is going to be way more likely to respect you back as a teacher. So I would say that's the biggest factor. I would love if there was more group work like Mr. Temple had. I know you can't do that with every subject, you know, like math. A lot of times you can't do that, but I do think learning about working in a group is so essential, regardless of what major or industry you're going to go into. So I wish there was more group work so people can learn about themselves and the people they work well with. Yeah, so the way that all the Media Academy teachers would organize it was we would give them, we'd write down, I think it was 5 or so names, or 6 names, 3 people we really want to work with and 3 people we don't want to work with because of maybe we worked with them before and it didn't work out. And they would try to get us at least one person in each group that we wanted to work with and try to avoid the people we didn't want to work with. And the people who you know, you would not want to work with, a lot of the times they were people, a lot of people would put on their list of people they don't want to work with, and they'd eventually start realizing, oh, a lot of people don't want to work with me. There might be a reason why. And the teachers would talk that out with them, and they would learn, okay, well, maybe it's because I'm not really responsible with the equipment. I need to be more responsible with the equipment, or I don't pull equal weight in the group. Maybe I have to start doing that. So I think it was a really great lesson for everyone, regardless of where you were placed in there. And it just really taught us a lot about ourselves and our fellow classmates.